Internal Revenue Service IRS tax news. Low-income taxpayer clinics represented over 20,000 taxpayers dealing with an IRS tax controversy. See the LITC Program report and the 2021 LITC grant recipient list. IR 2021-41, February 19, 2021, Washington. The Internal Revenue Service Low-Income Taxpayer Clinic, the LITC program, and there's a link to that here, office today announced highlights from its 2020 annual report. There's a link to the annual report here as well, featuring successful taxpayer outreach to thousands of taxpayers. The report describes how LITCs provide representation, education, and advocacy for taxpayers who are low income or speak English as a second language, ESL. The program also announced its 2021 LITC grant recipient list. The LITC program is a federal grant program administered by the Taxpayer Advocate Service, led by National Taxpayer Advocate Erin M. Collins. LITCs represent individuals whose income are below a certain level, generally within 250% of the federal poverty guideline, and need to resolve tax problems with the IRS, such as audits, appeals, and tax collection disputes. They can represent taxpayers in court as well as within the IRS. They also can provide information about taxpayer rights and responsibilities in different languages for ESL taxpayers. LITCs provide services for free or a small fee. They receive IRS grants but work independently to assist and advocate for taxpayers. Quote, I applaud the Low-Income Taxpayer Clinic program for another successful year filling a crucial role in helping low-income taxpayers resolve their tax problems with the IRS, end quote, said National Taxpayer Advocate Erin E. Collins. Quote, the services LITCs provide are critical, and I encourage organizations to consider applying for an LITC grant to open a clinic, especially in areas currently lacking an LITC, end quote. So it could be a good benefit in different locations, and you could look into opening up an LITC possibly, and or participating in one in some way, shape, or form. So thousands of taxpayers impacted. During the 2019, LITCs represented 20,259 taxpayers dealing with an IRS tax controversy. They helped taxpayers secure more than $6.8 million in tax refunds and reduced taxpayers' liability by more than $50 million. They also brought more than 4,100 taxpayers back into payment compliance. Through outreach and education activities, LITCs strive to ensure individuals understood their rights as U.S. taxpayers by conducting more than 1,800 educational activities that were attended by nearly 42,000 people. More than 1,500 volunteers contributed to the success of LITCs by contributing over 52,500 hours of their time. More than 65% of volunteers were attorneys, certified public accountants, or enrolled agents. LITCs used a variety of approaches to successfully advocate for taxpayers. These include utilizing collection alternatives to resolve issues administratively with the IRS, litigating cases in the United States Tax Court and other federal courts, and evaluating systemic issues through the Taxpayer Advocate Service's systematic advocacy management system. One success story among many. Here's one example of how an LITC assisted a taxpayer in need. A domestic violence shelter referred a recently divorced mother to an LITC for assistance with a large tax liability. The taxpayer explained that her ex-husband was a heroin addict and who abused her for years. The taxpayer's divorce decree ordered her ex-husband to pay their large tax bill to the IRS, but the taxpayer was concerned he would not pay it. She explained that her ex-husband had hidden income from her and did not provide all his income documents when she prepared their joint tax returns. So obviously we have a situation here where you have a married couple. Typically you got the married couple in that situation, the government sees them as kind of one entity. They're married, at least for tax purposes, right? Now they're one tax return that was two before, and you end up with these, of course, situations where if one person is doing something that's kind of abusive of the tax code, we're like talking taxes here, that's wrong for taxes, then because they're filing jointly, typically they would both be kind of liable for that. And in certain situations, you would think that, that might not be fair. So you'd have to basically see, what can you do in a type of situation like that where you have two individuals filing a joint return, one person possibly doing something that could be, fraudulent or illegal with regards to taxes, and the other person, what kind of rights does the other person have with regards to that? So in any case, the IRS discovered the unreported income, adjusted their tax returns, resulting in a large tax liability. The LITC helped the taxpayer gather supporting documentation and prepared a Form 8857, Request for Innocent Spouse Relief. So this is going to be the form here. So the Form 8857, Request for Innocent Spouse Relief, and basically saying, hey, look, this is a situation where I shouldn't be held responsible for this, because I was basically unaware or whatever other reason that could fall into that regulation, even though I file a joint return, and by filing a joint return by default, normally I would be responsible for it, and so on. So with the documentation gathered by the taxpayer, the LITC established that the tax liability resulted from the ex-husband's unreported income, and that the taxpayer experiencing domestic violence don't know or have any reason to know of the unreported income when she signed the joint tax return. The IRS determined it would be unfair to hold this taxpayer liable and granted her full relief. So it granted her relief in that situation. The full report, there's a link to the report here, contains more extraordinary stories about the representation that LITCs provide and extensive details about the LITC program. It also details the results that LITCs achieved on behalf of their clients. How to locate an LITC near you. Through the LITC program, the IRS awards matching grants of up to $100,000 per year to qualifying organizations. IRS Publication 4137, Low Income Taxpayer Clinic, there's a link to that here, provides a list of the 2021 LITC grant recipients by geographic area, including contact information and details about the languages, in addition to English, in which each LITC offers services.